Welcome to Soul Conversations with Sandra, the podcast. And we are inviting our guest back for round two. God is switching the codes, Angelic. And she'll be with us shortly. So basically, if you have questions for her, put it in the chat, in the question box. Please put her name on it so that I know that you're asking her a question or if the question is for me. So as soon as she comes in, we'll let her in and we'll get started. She is she is a well-being coach. She deals with toxic relationships, and she's a beautiful soul. She's a beautiful soul, and she's got wonderful information. That is why she is invited to this podcast, because I want everybody to know the best information they can get from source through sources channels. And here she is. She's giving me a wave. Let's invite her in. You know, sometimes Instagram just moves a little bit slower than our vibration, right? So she says, greetings. Can you see that, everyone? She is just a wonderful goddess. Let's see if I can let her in. It's not letting me do it. Hold on a second. Here we go. You know, I want to be a goddess of this Instagram service. And hold on a second. It's just bear with us. Here she comes. Hello,
There we
guys.
go.
There we go. We knew that energy would come in.
All right, let me get this energy to come in though real quick. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, greetings, greetings, greetings.
Yeah.
The beautiful monarch of loving, Cass Flower, Will, Averick, greetings. Stella Blue, get over here. Thank you. All right, y'all. How are you, beautiful Sandra? How are you, divine sister?
I am divine. I all night before I went to bed, I was just excited, excited, excited. Like I told you, I had goosebumps when I woke up. It was like, okay, this is going to be a magnificent energy exchange of information, you know. And this time, my little baby, he's 8 years old. He decided to come up here and chill with me. So he's snoring down here. Hi, Yvette. How are you? You know.
Greetings.
So where we left off, man, we were talking about, I think we were about to embark on, you were going to give me some information on how shadow working works and something about divine feminine, you know, and how you work that. I think I also mentioned I saw something that you were doing in one of your videos about smudging timelines, and that fascinated me. It was like, how does that work? You know, so wow, we've got a lot to cover, huh?
Yeah, I honestly I didn't watch the replay, so I don't even know most of the stuff that I said. But I was like, did I talk about? And I'm like, oh yeah. In regards to the live that I did with Indiana, no, that was with the relationships.
Yeah.
Shadow work. I had another live with another sister that we was talking about. She goes by Black Smoke Collection. She's an amazing sister.
Mm-hmm.
Pure Divine Channel as well. And she and I were talking about shadow work and the divine feminine energy. So I'm not sure if that's what.
Yeah, I think that was what I was interested in about the divine feminine. And the other one, that the other one I had was about relationships and how the stories that we get caught up in, or the do's and don'ts of what should and shouldn't be, how we get caught up in that, and we're not living our authentic self in relationships, and really in relationships towards ourselves, you know, because we have this different view of how everybody else has told us to do that. You know, so while you and Indiana were having that conversation, my mind was going, yeah, we've got so many old stories that we're just caught up in, you know. So anywhere you want to start, Goddess, I'm there.
To be honest, I'm flowing with you and seeing, because I'm not quite sure where you were wanting to take this. So I was just letting you lead the way, and then let the information come through as needed.
Okay.
I don't want to talk just to talk. You know, I want to stay on point with whatever questions there may be, or I know you was asking about smudging of the timelines, and you know, I will say this, and then I'll let you go into whatever questions it is that you may have. But in regards to the smudging of the timelines, I know you had a question last time, like, how do you do that? And Source knows now. Everything exists now.
Yes.
There is, you know, no past, present, future. It is all present. It is all now. However, depending on the timeline, on the dimension, now looks different until you are centered into that 0 point of now. You know, whether that's taking a moment and going and being present and realizing the past is the past, the future is the future, the now, you know, present is now. You're present in that moment. So when I'm smudging from all timelines, from the past, the present, and the future, so that I am in alignment with my highest self, which is in alignment with all timelines, right? The higher self is always with you. We are not separate from our higher self. We are not separate from Source. And so there will be events and things that occur in life at times that seem as if there's a form of separation that's present. Because, you know, the way that our human mind needs to perceive things, we break things down to be able to perceive it. And in order for it to be broken down, it is a form of separation that happens, but that's an illusion as well, because the separation is just a mental faculty that's working for us to be able to perceive wholeness.
Okay.
Right? So time is itself, it's wholeness. It exists, and it doesn't exist. It exists in this timeline, right, in this round, because we say, well, you know what, we have a schedule, we have 24 hours, and we need things to do within these 24 hours. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you know, and so Monday becomes the past of Tuesday, and Tuesday becomes the past of Wednesday. But when you allow yourself to really get into the core and the center of wholeness, the past is in that now. And sometimes, you know, that happens where, and this is kind of going off track, but I was going to say, like, when you do a past life regression, you're in the present moment, and whether it's guided through, you know, someone else or yourself, you know, it's a voice. By the time, let me not go too much. I'm gonna go into it.
Yeah. If that's
by the time we hear what we hear and we perceive it, we are literally hearing from the future to the past to the present moment, to be able to get to that core, to be able to get to that center. And when we're in that moment, you can actually perceive like past life memories or past life experiences experiences in the present moment, and it'll feel as if it just happened. It'll feel current, because source doesn't know the separation of past, present, future, but the body and the human brain perceives it slightly different. So when I'm smudging, when I'm cleansing, I'm doing my words of power, I'm affirming my highest timeline, my highest vibration. I'm affirming, all energies that's not of love, that's not serving me for my highest and greatest good, be cleared, be transmuted and transformed, and when I say in all timelines, realms, and dimensions, that's how I say it, in all timelines, realms, and dimensions. And that's how the smudging not only occurs in the physical plane of where I am present at in that present moment, but the energy causes a quantum ripple into the past, into the future, into all timelines, realms, and dimension, because it is affirmed, it is activated through my voice of authority, through my will, through the act, right? It's not just faith. Faith without works is dead, right? It's the action that is implemented in that allows for the ripple to occur in the different timelines.
Right.
What I was going to say was, another way that we can perceive that is light, right? Through the sun. A lot of the times we say, oh, well, go eye gazing, or, sun gazing, or, we look up at the sky, or by the time, the sun is so far away, and the rays, it takes time. By the time we actually perceive with our physical eyes, right? By the time we perceive with our physical eyes, we are already looking into the past in the present moment. It is the past.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the present, the sun is in the future at that point, if you want to talk about future, but at the same time, it's present and is in the past, like God, like source,
right.
It's just existing.
Yeah. Yeah, it made me think of, as a kid, when I would try to, when my brothers would be driving us back and forth, and we would be watching the sun as it's moving. And as it's moving, it's literally, I didn't even think about it moving through timelines. But every time you would look at it, it would be in a different place, or it would, all of a sudden it was directly in front of us. And then as we look at it again, it's moved like it's behind us as we're driving. But that's it moving. That's not, the sun is actually vibrating through all the dimensions that it's moving through. Right? Is that how I can capture it? Kind of, because as a kid it was like, no, it's over there, and then my brother would say, no, it's behind us, and I look and I go, yeah, how did it get there? And that kind of thing. It works more for it. It worked more. We tried it with the moon, and it didn't really work as well with the moon as it did with the sun when we were. Well,
I was just referring to light fractals in general. Our physical eye, the way that it perceives is through the light fractals, the light particles. It doesn't actually have like the eyesight, like the inner eye or the ajna chakra, the pineal gland, if you will, and so when we're looking through our pineal gland, we're looking through all timelines, right? We're able to perceive that which is unseen, and it doesn't rely on the light particles to reflect, right? Because these are reflectors. These are reading the information of light. So even if we're not talking about the physical sun or the physical moon, just with our eyes open, whatever it is that we are seeing is a form of, like a hologram, is a form of projection, is a form of light particles that carry information. And depending on how we perceive it, it's how we read the information, is how we see the information. And so that in itself, with the eyes open, it is already experiencing the past and the present moments from the future, because the sun is the light is present at all times. But by the time it travels through the sun rays, by the time that light travels to us and we perceive it, it's already seconds that have passed.
Okay.
So it's in the past. Now we are like in the past perceiving it, but we see ourselves in the present because of the timeline and dimension that we are in and able to perceive. Okay. So that's what I mean, you know, whether it's a physical light, just any, you know, just looking in your room, even if, you know, everything, energy is always moving. Mm-hmm. So even if it perceives to be still,
right,
you know, right. So that's what I'm referring to.
Even if the moment you know they cut the wood and made the desk, it's still vibrating. It's still vibrating at a probably at a lower density, but it's vibrating. You know, at vibrating different than when the wood was alive before it got cut, before it got reshaped into something else. I get it. I get it. So the intentionality of us, you know, doing our affirmation. You're affirming in not just this timeline, the timeline that we in, all of them. And from the way I learned is past, present, and or past and future is moving across the now, right? So now it makes sense. I mean, I'm sorry, it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? It's not just it's not just the Star Trek moment where you go, oh, okay, so past and present and now they're all moving around me. And that's why I see like things out the corner of my eye, or, you know, kind of, I get glimpses of things, but it makes sense that it's not just a past, a woo-woo past of somebody else's past across me. It's my, that 2 minutes of what just became my past present, right? So it's like, oh, okay, I just had an Oprah aha moment. It makes so much sense now. I
love the example that you gave with the crisscrossing of the future and the past, and that's, you know, going to the center of that Bindu, the 0 point, into the present, to be able to perceive that and experience that, you know, absolutely, for sure. And that's where the timeline, you know, you'll be able to access the different timelines through there.
Right.
For sure. That was a great example.
I remember reading a book. I can't remember if it was Neil Donald Walsh. I don't think it was Neil Donald Walsh. I think it was Gary Zook, who was talking about the time, the past, present, cross each other as well. And he had mentioned that if you're having a moment, like, I think he used an example of getting ready to have a phone call with someone. And usually, I think he mentioned like the gas company or light company. And most people dread making those calls. You know, they have to talk to the gas company or talk to the people, and they expect to get upset in the timeline, in the now timeline that you're in. But he was saying there was a present past that already existed, and the phone call that you've already had, you've already done. And so for me, it's like, whoa, so I get to, and he was saying, you get to change it. What do you want to do differently? Even though you don't know exactly what that timeline was, what do you want to create from it? So create from it.
Right.
It's the it's kind of like the unknown of the of the immediate past that just happened. And I was like, oh, so you mean I could just say, I've had this conversation already. This person is got, I'm not going to have to wait 20 minutes for this person to pick up the call. This person is going to pick up the call. This person is already going to service me. And I get to say, at the end of this service call, I'm going to be happy, satisfied, and feel complete with being all my needs being taken care of. And I went, oh, okay. So it doesn't have to be like that. And it doesn't, and my now doesn't have to be a pissy moment, because I've got to call the gas company and try to get my gas to stay on or make a payment plan, or feel like if I'm making a payment plan, people will judge me. I could take all of that out because this has already happened in a future past moment. Now I get to go do it again. So what would I do from it? And I thought, wow, it's like, this really, okay, you just, everything that I ever thought about, like Star Wars or Star Trek or Stargate, where everything's moving, it's just, you just brought it right and dumped it in my lap. That, Sandy, what do you do with it? So, wow, okay, I get it. Now smudging the timelines makes so much sense, but it just falls into place with just everything vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I could be smudging in that moment and recording it and putting it on the timeline, and whenever a person sees it, it's that energy is still potent, it's still active, and it's captured in that video, and they get back into that energy again. It's like when we're watching these lives, or when people are doing energy work, and some people, they go in and they're like, whoa, I felt that energetic shift, and they're able to like receive that telepathic message right before, and they're like, oh, I knew they were going to say that. Yeah, because they were, even though it was pre-recorded, the energy is still active in that, and it's moving, it's alive. It's, when we're looking at hieroglyphs on these pyramids or ancient scriptures, that energy is moving, it's alive. And you can feel that energy sometimes just by holding it or looking at it. You don't even have to be in front of it. Just looking at it, you can get an activation from it, and that's, we started off in referencing smudging, but that's just me giving examples of just how, the energy is moving. And like you were saying, and those types of things is like, that's a form of channeling too. When we're channeling, it seems as if we're in the present moment, in that now space is where we get the information, but it's from that conversation that has already been had, and we're just being reminded of the conversation that was being had. And then we also have the free will to say, well, am I going to say the same thing, or am I going to twist this up just a little bit and see, create a parallel, yeah. That's it. It starts getting real creative.
Yeah, it does. And fact that, whoa, I never knew I could do that. I never knew that could be, I didn't know that could be part of the creative. I'm so excited now, my words are getting part of the creative process, right? I mean, because when we left off on the last one, we were talking about quantum leaping and paradigm shifts, and it was like, whoa, just to know that, these shifts, and these shifts, vibrational shifts, to know that I think when we left, I was telling you about how one day, a couple of weeks ago, I had looked out my bedroom window, and there was a different car parked in my parking spot. And when I went, I was about to go downstairs and tell these people, why are you parked there, right? When I got to the bottom of the stairs and looked in my living room, my daughter was still there. So that meant that the car was still, the car was there. And when I looked out the window looking at the car, it was there. Now, that was my first experiencing anything like this on a quantum level, because literally I went back up to my room and looked out the window, and the different car was still in the parking lot. It was like, press, Sandra, you just experienced something magnificent, right? Mm-hmm. And I just left it at that. It's like, okay, I'm moving between two quantum fields. That's okay with me. So, when I'm upstairs, I'm in one quantum field. I'm just going to ride the vibration. And when I woke up the next morning, of course, my car was there from upstairs and it was there from downstairs. So it's like, oh, I'm back, right? It was like, oh, I get this. If I tell anybody about it, they'll probably say, Sandra, do you want a rubber room? But that's okay, because I experienced it. Yeah. So it's really great. I mean, God, there's so many things to talk about, but this is what I want to talk about. I heard you on another live talking about divine feminine, divine masculine. Me coming into learning all of this, all I knew is that my body, mind, and soul, I'm masculine and feminine as a whole. But I don't know any more than that. How do you know what parts of you you're moving through life from, using your divine feminine or your divine masculine?
That's a good question. Because every energy is androgynous. It's just a different degrees, right? Some are more, maybe 70% feminine, 30% masculine, and vice versa. And that's including our organs, the waters in our body is androgynous in general. I like to look at water. For me, water is, and it could be that I'm a female, but even when I connect with other like brothers and whatnot, the waters is way more feminine, than masculine, but does have that masculine essence as well. And oftentimes we hear like Mami Wata, or, they you see a lot. It's funny, talk about timelines, right? I have a clock that has the wrong time and it says 333 on it. I had to fix that clock, like it's ahead of time of the actual time, so I just turned and it says 3:33. But going back into it, right? There are certain deities that or characteristics of water that are personified as like masculine, right? I think the law of gender is something that allows for us to be able to identify and differentiate masculine, feminine energies, so that we can understand that some more. But I feel like that's more of a personal thing, because, and this is why I say that, one being may perceive an energy way more feminine. I'm gonna bring up an angel, for example. Today's Tuesdays. So Tuesdays is ruled by Mars and Archangel Shamiel, right? Some people say Chamiel, Samuel, Shamiel. I say Shamiel, right? And the color is pink, of their vibrancy, of their light code frequency, right? And for me, Archangel Shamiel very much comes through like feminine essence, presence, but occasionally he will come through masculine, right? Today I feel a little bit more of that masculine presence from him, right? And so how do you get that from a pink vibration? Well, pink actually was a masculine color before they indoctrinated us to believe that pink was feminine. And,
okay.
And so our conditioning has a big part of how we perceive energy. Some people see pink and right away they think pink is feminine, right? And they could just be thinking, oh, girly, 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 right? Or woman. And feminine does not mean girl or woman. These are different words, but feminine is it's a woman and girl do carry a high amount of feminine energies. While we are both androgynous beings, men and women, men carry more naturally, biologically, right? We're talking about biology. Until they start shifting their hormones, until they start doing certain quantum physics with their inner core, with their beings, with their organs, then they switch the numeric codes within themselves to become more feminine or more masculine and tap into certain beings with themselves. But that's a personal journey, which is why I said that's a good question. But it's, for me personally, it's kind of hard to answer that, because a person can perceive their left side more feminine and their right side more the left side more masculine and the right side more feminine. And most people are going to say, no, the left side is receptive, the right side is giving. And it's like, yeah, that may be for the majority of people, but that individual's also their own energetic signature. And they may actually have some energies in certain spaces that respond and react differently to energies than the norm. And so for them, it can be perceived differently. And so the standard, right? What is standard, what is normal is your left side, like your left hand is the feminine hand and it is receptive, and your right hand is the dominant hand and it's the masculine, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they always try to condition people to write with one hand also, but what about those that write with both hands? What about those that that write with just their left hand, and there could be very logical, they'd be like, well, if you're left-handed, you're very creative, and that can be true, or it could not be true, right? It could be that they're very logical, and it really depends on the individual. But there's a psychology to these things that have been scientifically backed up, right, through observation, right? The science is the act of observation and getting, just seeing the same results to make a determination. Pretty much after you've seen the results so many times, you can say, okay, well, that's scientifically proven in this way. So that's how a lot of these studies work, and that's how a lot of our information comes into play, but to say a concrete answer, if you're going to talk to me, I'm like, well, it depends on what dimension. I can get redundant and tedious and ridiculous. No, we're all androgynous. Yeah. It's what's resonant with you, and on different days it can resonate differently for you. Telling the difference of the level, that takes your personal practice of learning how you perceive as an individual. Right. If you don't know how you perceive things, it's gonna be a little bit harder for you to see that feminine, masculine differentiate, because like I mentioned an angel. That angel does not stop being its energetic signature. That angel is its energetic signature, and its light code frequency is that same light code frequency, but in the shade in which it appears to me, in the shade of pink, in the shade of feminine or masculine, in the core of it, when it shifts, that's based on my perception, and that's when I say, oh, okay, I can see, because I'm diving into these depths of the waters within my psyche, and through that dimension of perception that I am flowing in, I am able to perceive that energy in that way. But when I'm in this space, I perceive it in that other way. Nonetheless, it is still the angelic being of Shamiel.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I got it. It makes sense. It makes sense, because then when I was listening, because I had went into meditation about this at the beginning, and I started hearing the conversation. So I started, in turn hearing it, and I asked. I said, I know my physical body, my physical makeup is female, but are you, right? And my, my soul says, my soul told me, I wasn't confused by it, but my soul told me I'm both, right? Um, and then my soul said, what do you want to be through me? My soul ended up asking me a question. And it was like, I immediately, that kind of threw me, and I came out of the meditation like, huh? What? You know, it was fun because wait, I'm supposed to ask you the questions, and you're supposed to guide me, and not ever that I thought I was broken, but you're supposed to guide me. This is the journey. You're supposed to guide me, and you're supposed to just answer my questions. And on top of it, hold on, you're supposed to, right? That's the whole thing. Like, source and God, you're the sense part of me, right? And so when I went back, I thought about it for a minute, and I think that's what my soul do, was think about it. And then I went back to all the times I was growing up, and why I was so reluctant why I loved doing what little boys did, why I, like dolls, they get my interest for like literally maybe a day. But let me go outside, run and play with my brothers. I'm cool, right? Let me run around and, I remember my brother had a T-shirt, a tee, and I cut it off and I put it on, and I put on a pair of shorts, and of course I got hell for that with my brother. But I looked at him and said, "Look, I'm like you." But it wasn't about the physical. When I was a kid, like I think back, when I think back to it, is my energy is like yours. I'm tuned in that. And then when I went back into meditation, I so said, ask me, have the answer. Do you have your answer? Not, soul already knows the answer for us, but it's for us to find it, our ourselves within soul. And I said, yeah, I just want to be who I am at the moment that I am. And so said, so be it. It wasn't about me being negative. It wasn't about me being a negative or a positive. It wasn't about me being a feminine or a masculine. It was just about me and whatever I was comfortable being at that time. And I finally got it. But then when I started on and started learning more about spirituality, started hearing a lot of masculine and feminine. Okay, what the days are, not the days, but what planets align with each other to make it masculine or feminine. And then I just kind of went, wait, then I think I need to know more, because I can't really, if I'm following them on their page and then I like what they're saying, but I don't know what they mean, then I'm liking stuff that's a vibration that I'm putting a action to when I like it. So
what I think about, I'm sorry, were you done?
No, yes, I am done. Yeah.
What I think about is, when we're doing, like, let's say chakra work, they play a big role with our hormone levels, and our hormone levels play a big role with energy. And a lot of the times, and this is why, a lot of people may not like what I have to say, but it's biology, it's science, it's actuality, right? On a soul level, on a spiritual level, we are androgynous beings, and on a biological level, we are female, male, man, woman, right? And because of our physical body, the energies do flow differently. And so when you are, let's say if you are a man and you are tapping into the feminine essence, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you start physically altering your hormone levels and your behaviors and things start shifting to way more feminine, because now you have too much estrogen and not enough testosterone, and that makes you act more girly, more feminine. Some people, they again, this is is no shade to any. I don't care if you lesbian, gay, pansexual, all of that. I'm just speaking from science and from facts, and it is what it is. So take whatever opinions you feel with yourself and meditate on it for whoever, But when you start behaving a certain way, these behaviors are energetic. They're energetic from the energy in motions, from the emotions in the body that are responding and reacting from your hormonal levels, right? From the waters and the way that your organs in. And so now the universe is singing a song, a harmony in that frequency, which may make you act a little bit more, like more like a girl, or more, some people may be like, oh, sometimes you hear, oh, they acting like a bitch, or they act, she's acting like a man. And because it's not just, it don't got nothing to do with being gay or lesbian or anything like that. It's just the behaviors. I've seen women who are very, very dominant, and they're not submissive to their feminine side, and so they have actual hormonal imbalances within them because they are thriving in one energy more than the other, but they claim they're so spiritually aware of themselves that the mind, body, and spirit is at a disalignment. We are not separate. We are not separate from the body. Source is not separate. Soul is not separate.
Right.
From self. So we are always androgynous being man or woman, but biologically our body has certain pathways that work for us to be healthy in a certain secretion to a certain number, and that's going to be different from everyone. And so when the hormones are different, this is when we start getting these different behavior patterns, or this eases and whatnot. And right. You can actually, through the chakras, you can feel that and you can see that and work through that. It's like when we say womb healing, right away people think of females doing womb healing only. They do not. Thank you, Mr. Synchronicity. They don't think about men doing womb healing work. Men had to swim into the womb, right? They were in their mothers before they were even born, right? And so there's things in their harmonic that are hormones that was singing a harmony that may not be in tune with them biologically. And so they may display that through their behavior patterns, through traumas, or different ways of experience. And so if you want to talk about smudging timelines or healing or masculine and feminine, you can get a man and say, let's do womb healing. Even though a man does not have a biological womb,
right,
there is a spiritual womb in which is impacting his biology, is impacting his hormone levels, in which is impacting his creativity, his thought processes, the way that his energy is moving, and how he can fully thrive in all essence, because it's not just to be just in the feminine energy to be creative. Absolutely not. It takes both. Source is both. Source is not man or woman. It is an energy. It is a spirit. And the spirit is in and of everything.
Right.
But then when we go to the different densities, that's when having to differentiate. And so there are times, let's say with the root chakra, if you're feeling, a little bit unstable, that might be something that you didn't feel provided for. Or you feel like you don't know how to provide for yourself, right? That's a little bit more masculine, but the root chakra is just an energy portal. It is just an energy. It's spiraling around. It doesn't look like a man. It doesn't have a penis unless you are a man that has, your genital. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We all have Ida and Pingala, and then there's Shashuma going up, right? This is what brings our feminine and masculine energies to that kundalini, to that center, and we can be in the center.
Okay, so
and it's okay it's okay to express that sexually as gay or straight and everything like that, as far as sexuality is concerned, right? But when you're doing it by free will and not because there's imbalances in your being that haven't been dealt with. And a lot of society, unfortunately, right now, due to the agendas and propagandas and stuff that has been put out there, has done so to control others in their mind and manipulate their hormones. So they the foods aren't giving us the proper nutritional values to keep our hormonal levels balanced.
Mm-hmm.
So now you may, because we're naturally androgynous beings, we're all going to naturally be, there's a difference between attraction and sexualizing, right? You can be a man attracted to another man in a way of like saying, that man is handsome.
Right.
That man is sharp. That man, I admire his masculine qualities and traits, and not be gay.
Right.
And not even have a sexual thought process of that. But when the behavior patterns start to show, then it's say, okay, is it by choice because you enjoy it and your hormones are balanced, your chakras are balanced, and you just enjoy this because you know that on a soul level, you are an androgynous being, and most animals, they work however they work, and there's a magic to it, and it is what it is, and it's your free will, it's your choice. It's not because you are there's a imbalance. But some people, they get into certain things and they create traumas for themselves because they realize they're maybe eating too much soy, and this soy is building so much estrogen in them. They start, getting, they misinterpret what they're perceiving as attraction for sexuality, and now they feel bi-curious, and then they go and they do something, and now they create resentment with themselves, or guilt, or this, that, and the third, because they may realize, wait a minute, I wasn't gay, I'm not gay, I don't really like that, and now they created a trauma that they're shameful of and they don't want to talk about, or it could be the opposite. They realize, oh, wait a minute, I like this. Hold on, because they're in that hormones. So it's a little bit different when it's somebody that has work to do with their hormones and versus somebody who has balanced hormones.
Right.
Yeah, a whole thing there. But
no, but that's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. I think for me, the first time I ever felt attracted to a girl, I think I was in 5th grade. What I mean. So even back then I knew, but of course, like we talk about old stories, old dogmas or whatnot. It wasn't, but here's the kicker. It wasn't that I didn't like boys. I liked boys too. I mean, if you ask,
I swore I was a lesbian for a long time, so there's that.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If you had asked me at I don't know how you are at, I think 10 at 5th grade or something, 10 or 11, and you had asked me this, I had a preference. I wouldn't even knew that there would be a preference. So,
Mr. Synchronicity, I'm sorry, Mr. Synchronicity says food with voltage are best. Water with voltage. Yes, if you want some living water, come holla at moi. But anyways, he says, I think all were curious at a young age. However, most people are ashamed to admit it. And I 100% agree with that. And then he says, which is silly. It happened. So what? That so what part is the personal part that people got to work through. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to ignore that because it had to do with everything that we were talking about.
I think he's absolutely right. But see, the so what is very, that's why I do Soul Awakening with Sandra, is because the old stories and the dogmas, even the religious dogmas and all those, they are part of what's inside of us as far as our unconscious, which drives most people. So we may call a person, for us who are awakening, and I'll just do the air quotes, awakening, that we look at other people and we say, oh, they're unconscious, or for me, soul has changed it and said that they're sleepwalking, and they're just sleepwalking or sleepworking or sleep playing on a program that's constantly playing in the background of their unconscious. And part of those thought processes that we had when we were a kid, that would have been just fine. You know, oh, I tried that. Oh, that was great. And then, you know, as kids, we move on. We're on to the next thing. But as adults, it's very hard to move on from those things because they're already put into prefabricated boxes that don't allow us to move forward to something new. We have to now address it and put a label on it and feel shitty about it, or feel or be told we should feel shitty about it, or be told that we got it. I can't tell you people who said, you know, when I came out that, oh, okay, but you know, they would say it in a way, it's like, are you sure? And come here on my couch, let us talk about it. Let me see if I can through that point where I can fix you, right?
Right.
And
right.
This is part of you know, it's not only the shit they put in the food, but it's also the shit that they keep you thinking about yourself that doesn't make it easy to say, it happened, so what? Right? Until you get to that, until you do that inner work. And sometimes that inner work,
And it's the energetic signature too. Like everyone, as mentioned, everybody's energetic signature has a certain numeric frequency to them that might slightly differ, which again, this is why it's important to get acquainted with your chakras and your hormone levels and whatnot. For sure, programming is harder to accept. Yeah, and so that's why what I was saying was, it's kind of difficult because when you bring science into it, they're going to be like, well, yeah, what she said right there was, if your hormone levels, that's a disease. And that's how they take it. It's a disease.
right.
It can be fixed. That's a dogma, right? It can be fixed. There's something wrong. And so part of that can be true, but that's not the absolute truth to it, because we are androgynous beings. And that's why it's important to know that there are individuals that they are completely balanced in their hormones, and it's out of free will, right? Because they know who they are and they know what they like, and it is what it is. I like both. I remember, had them like telling, you don't like girls, you like boys. And I was like, don't tell me what I like. And because I swore up and down I only liked girls at the time and stuff, right? But that was also me suppressing like traumas from molestations and stuff like that, right? But I never stopped loving women. I never stopped liking women. And so, yeah, I 100% get, when they try to fix you and it, them not understanding that we literally have the free will to choose. And that's why I mentioned the difference between attraction and sexuality, because I believe everyone is attracted to their the same gender, and also the opposite gender, whether they are gay or straight.
Right.
There could be a gay man that finds a straight woman attractive. He could be like, oh my God, that woman is so beautiful. he could compliment her, find her super attractive, be inspired or whatever, or just want to connect and have a friendship, but nothing is
Yeah.
sexualized.
Yeah.
The mind doesn't even go there. Sex is in the mind first.
Right. And it's told to us in all of our stories. And matter of fact, Mr. Synchronicity, when I was saying that, I think he got, you don't have to do anything. I was about to say you got to understand, but you don't have to do anything. The explanation for me is that when I found out that about me, it was 19, it was 60. It was the 60s, you know. It was okay, you did it as a kid, but you don't need to tell anybody. And then you move on, because the 60s was, everything was very closed off. Everything, all the programming was followed. Even if it was just automatically in the subconscious and it was in the mind, there were just things back in the 60s, as a kid and a teenager, 60s, 70s, that you didn't just say. And yes, people would either spank you on the hand and say you don't know what you're talking about, or take you to a doctor, and or take you and have somebody try to give you electrotherapy, or go have church, go have the devil lay hands, or have have the devil forced out of you. I mean, that
100%. The generation in which you're referring to, it's funny because I always felt like, with I'm the youngest, and my older siblings, they used to call me disrespectful, because I very much was, the one. And I realize now that my generation, those that are on this journey and are on the same generational timeline, right? As as I am, and referring to the planets and whatnot as well, and that timeline, we were here to really break those dogmas and break those barriers. Because what you're saying, I seen that, and I had to break through that, and now I see where things are now, and I see that too. So I see that, like, how our generation literally was pushing those barriers to break those dogmas, to be able to have the world where it is today. And even still, we're still creating shifts. We're still creating quantum leaps and all of that, because, now, here we are having this conversation: gay, straight, sexuality, divine, feminine, masculine. Back in the days, you had these conversations, as mentioned, like, this is, they literally, sent me to hospitals. They Baker active me. They were trying to, shoving medication down my throat and all of these things, right? And it was very difficult to have these types of conversations. But I say here and now, like, regardless of, not to say I don't have my own issues. Everybody has their issues, but that's not going to stop me from talking about the difference between attraction and sexuality. And this is what I learned. And yeah, it's for people that are still in that mentality, that mindset, right? It is a setting, is a set. That this is why we having a reset, a raw set, bringing light into those set places that are kind of trapped in that box. Do the box technique, breathe the square breathing technique. You breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and you hold it out for 4 seconds, and you go back. The square breathing technique, right? Do that with a thought process or a consciousness in which you feel a lot of resistance to, that you feel defensive to, that you feel like you think that you cannot change. And when you practice this, instead of focusing too much on that ideal, because it's an ideal, an idealization of the mind that you've set, it's a mindset. Allow yourself to first put that, you're in that box now. And as you are breathing, visualize as if each breath is the wall. And as you're doing this, the wall is breaking down and you're allowing new information about this one thing which you don't know about to enter. So that you get to learn from it. And then you make a choice. I don't like that. Don't make a choice of I don't like that because you think it's bad or shameful or because you've been conditioned and trained to, or because you have a fear, but rather because you've now gained the information and you're choosing to say, that's not for me. Or I don't like, you're entitled to like and don't like whatever you don't like and like, you know, but at least allow. The guitar painting has me. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I went to cough, and also my dog he just had a dream.
I thought that was a real guitar. I'm not even gonna lie. I thought that was a real guitar.
Oh, this one?
I didn't realize it was a painting. Yeah, I thought it was like a real guitar, like on a stand, you know?
See, but you're giving me thoughts, because I have two guitars that I need to actually hang up, and I haven't done it yet. You know, trying to figure out how to do it, because the walls they don't have a lot of what do you call it, solid wall, a lot of, what do they call it, the solid beam. You know?
Yeah.
I can buy the little, so I can find the beams to hang them on. But yeah, I'm about to do that one. I can. Oh,
I can fix that.
I can fix that. Hey, Mr. Synchronicity.
There you go. Solutions.
Oh, there's studs. All right. Yes. Now you just said the word in it as it came up. I remembered the word in vibrational. But you are absolutely right about saying what you like and don't like, and to actually breathe into it, to actually see it, and breathe in, also breathe it out as a possibility or a choice, and then then you get to decide how it feels with you. You know, like, just a lot of this information, a lot of the fact that, you know, back then in the 60s and 70s, nobody's teaching you that you're masculine and feminine. No one's teaching you that inner beingness of what you are. Yes, they're teaching you your physicality and your biology of it, but they're not teaching you that it's okay to allow yourself to, you know, nobody was even teaching us that our soul is androgynous, right? In fact, back when I was growing up, they weren't teaching you much about soul. They weren't teaching you it in school, and they weren't teaching you it in organized religion. What they were teaching you in organized religion is that there was the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, but they weren't teaching us that we were triune beings, you know.
That's why it was considered occult information, hidden information in plain sight.
Right.
That's why the Bible is just, it has so, you know, the Christian Bible just has so much spells in it, and so much, there's a lot of information. It talks about all of this, you know. It's just, you have to know how to read it, how to decipher it, how to decode it. And honestly, because of the type of conversation we have, that's why I go into the biology and the science of it, because people that get in a space of dogma, they like the logistics of it. They need the information and the facts so that they can be able to break barriers. It's hard for them to just give them free form thoughts, because then they naturally challenge and resist. And so once you provide to them actual science with it, it's a little bit harder for them to resist. They might still resist greeting. They may still resist, but it's a lot more challenging for them to resist, because now they have to challenge the information in which is factual. And I am always open to say, my answers are not the absolute truths and not the absolute finite answer. And so I'm open to a debate, but it come with the information, right?
Right.
I allow myself room to be wrong and incorrect, because I'm still having a human experience.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to allow, I'm not resisting. I'm allowing myself to receive the information. And so if you're going to do that, allow yourself to receive the information first, and before combating the information, try to be receptive, which is a feminine trait, whether you are man or woman, being receptive to the information so you can digest it. And honestly, that's what, when you asked for part 2, I was like, I don't mind doing it, but this was so fast. Do I want to do it right away? Because it's so much information that, I mean, sometimes things take time to digest properly and process properly, that sometimes it's like reading a book could be so good that you read it 2, 3, 4 times, and each time you're digesting different parts of the book. You start understanding it in different levels. And the information that we are talking about, to the audience, right? You have to know your audience, and you're trying to reach audience that think dogmatic, and breaking these dogmatic mindsets, right? It's once you know your audience, and okay, they need time to process. I can't overwhelm them, because then they start to resist the information because they're not going to digest it all. Sometimes getting too much information in a short amount of time creates such a shock in the body that now they don't know what to do with that information.
Right.
Yes, it's huge. It's as minute as it may seem. The words that, as little as the energy may be, that, oh, this is an Instagram live, the information that is in the live from both of us, right? And anyone that you go live with is so potent.
Right.
That it needs time to be digested. And that's why I was like, okay, I'll go this time, but if there's going to be it, we need time to allow people to process and have questions.
Right.
Once you see people asking questions, you know that they're interested. You know that they're starting to want to understand what it is that they're receiving. They may have felt something. Maybe they get it right away. Maybe they don't. Maybe they know all this information, but it was one word that one of us said that triggered them and enlightened them to think about saying, whoa, wait a minute.
Right.
Because you shared with me, and I was like, oh, I like that. I didn't even think like that. So we are expanding consciousness as we are just having this podcast, this conversation. Soul Awakening with Sandra. This is literally a soul awakening podcast, information that is so big. It's, those with small minds, right? Small-minded dogmas, or even those that I like to believe I have an open mind. There's so much information that I'd be like, oh, I need to sit with this.
Right. Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody that maybe hearing this, whether it's on the replay or live, it's take your time. Don't rush the process. Don't feel like just because, there's so much of this information everywhere that you have to know. Allow yourself to be open to receive, and then allow yourself to digest the information and challenge it if you want. I always say ask questions. Yeah. It's okay to be a little rebellious. It's okay to say, you know what? Yeah, maybe I was a little bit hard back in the 60s with how I had these viewpoints, and I see that the world is this way right now, and I'm curious to learn more. Well, then if you are, guess what? Sandra's providing a safe space to where you can reach out to her and ask her these questions, and she's providing these lives, yes, for new experiences each time, like Mr. Synchronicity said.
Yes.
So
new experiences every time. That's what life is about. Life is constantly about new experiences. It's constantly about looking back and not judging your past. When you look back at your past, only look back at it as an observer. And then you get to look at it and you get to feel it and you get to go, oh man, I could change that. And then go there now and do it then. And then you get to ask yourself a whole plethora of questions. Well, if I know that I can change it, how am I going to go about that? You know, it's just, I just want to open you up to seeing that there are new things that are different than what we've been told our whole life. But I can't be like the people who are telling you your whole life that this is right. Because what's right for me, or what I found out works for me, which it did, I'm going to literally tell you, it's been taking all of my life to try. You know, and oh yes, exactly, like having cheat codes on your videos, right? You know, it's sometimes your path is a cheat code. You get to observe it and go, ooh, figure that one out. Ooh, I see that. I see that. Ooh, let me just kind of bring it on into now, and then let me kind of create from it. You know, because I'm going to tell you, I grew up listening to biology, but I'm going to tell you that shit was boring, right? And this is the way I was as a kid, listening to biology, then going home and pulling off all my clothes and looking at myself. Okay, I'm a girl. They tell me I'm a girl. Okay, I got girl body parts. But my thing, why do I feel so not like either or? It wasn't about the having a penis or a vagina. It was about the vibration that I didn't understand when I was a kid, right? And as I grew, I think the difference, my mother said the difference was I wasn't afraid to ask the question. I was always the one that would make my mother put her hands on her hips and tilt her head and go, that's a good question. You know, baby, I don't know that answer, but you know what? You can, if you found somebody that you can ask that question to, I definitely listen to them. Come back and tell me what you found. Because she was my bouncer, you know, she was kind of like where now I know the awareness is my screen of my video on it, and I off the screen, and then that vibration can bounce back to me. My mother was that screen for a while, and then she would go, oh, well, I never saw it like that, but that might make sense. You want to try something like that? You know, that kind of thing, right? But even back then, being bisexual or gay or anything was not a question that I could ask my mom then, you know, because that was not heard of. Don't go there, you know. And my mother's name was Ann, and you need to get the girl needs some help. She's talking that way, you know, you need to take her and go get hands laid on her, kind of thing. Not that my mother would do it. My mother just would not listen to them. She says, oh, she's going to be who she is no matter what. Leave her alone, you know. Leave my children alone. I got it. That was my mother,
Right.
you know. So nothing works like we do. Oh, I like that. Hi, Casey. How are you?
Yeah, taboo. Yeah, because he said we are the highest technology on the planet. Absolutely. Even, you know, this like AI stuff, and that's a whole
Another.
other deal. We're not going to go into that right now, but yeah, the taboo-ness and the dogmas and, you know, breaking barriers into quantum leaping into, you know, that space is, it's a willingness, it's a choice. It's, you know, we are always, even, you know, you let IBM say it and they be like, oh, the human mind cannot multitask and this, and it's like, we are always multitasking. I mean, we have the super conscious, the subconscious, the conscious mind. Like, you know, we are multitasking even when we're not even thinking about it. But they want us to you know, put ourselves in a certain frequency and box and believe that we can't do certain things. And so, you know, this is why we need other technologies. And those technologies are just a mimic, a replica not even of the original, and we carried the original essence in our being. So, you know, I mean, take the replica and allow it to work for us, right? Because hey, I mean, we're in this round, we're in this density, and we might as well have all things working in our favor and working for us, but allow ourselves the divine intelligence and wisdom to be able to uphold our intelligence and dominate and rule in the way that kingship rules, you know.
Yeah.
We're holding it down in multi dimensions. We can multitask. Absolutely. That was a whole conversation I had with me, myself, and I in different dimensions and realms with myself, you know. That, you know, sometimes you know, certain information and retaining, and that's a whole other topic, but it has to do with the quantum space and being able to remember and you know, memory and all of this stuff, you know, and getting, and I'm like, no, I can do this, we can do this, you know, we just have to allow ourselves, and that's really the truth of it. So that's all I really have, unless anybody has any questions here, or Sandra, if you have anything else for me. I think this was great. I think there was a lot of information provided. So
Yes. Before I let you go, and before I let our followers go, this morning I do a little short blurb, video blurb that Source had encouraged me. I'll put the words up there. Encouraged me to do it. It's called Soul Speaks, and it's part of my Soul Insights. And I'm going to read this part, because this was a book that I mean, literally, I have notebooks and notebooks. And Soul told me, says, go get your pink notebook. And I said, pink notebook? What? I have like 10. And Soul said, well, just go touch the notebook and you'll know which one it is. And I got a vibration off of one of them. And then I said, okay, well, what page? And Soul just said, flip the pages. Source knows what it's doing, you know. Stop being such an arrogant little shit. Because I was like, well, what page, right? What, you know. And literally, it is called, it was part of what Source was teaching me, and it's called The Doing. And this is what I wrote. We must remember that our souls carry our passions. It is through the passions that our soul seeks self and seeks to remember itself through us. Our soul desires to experience. It desires to experience the self as we have our free will thoughts and our choices. This is called the doing. Remember that our souls joined with us to seek out its realization in physicality, right? And this is part of what we're saying right now. Mankind has replaced passion with expectation and prosody. Mankind has been led to believe that passion is a sin, that passion will lead us down the wrong path, that if we follow our passion, it will lead us away from God. Mankind believes that passion is the luring of our egos. But in truth, our passions are the language and desires of our souls. This truth will set us free, awakening us to the calling of our souls. Our calling is our connection to Mother, Father, God, or if you want to call it Almighty God, or if you want to call it awareness. It does not matter what we name it, or them, or they. They are the reason that we're here. And I was like, Source, oh my God. It's just in my head right now, when we're talking about this, this is what Source says, well, this is where you were going to read it at, right? So, you know, we're led to believe that our passions are something that we have to be afraid to share, something that we have to be afraid to give to ourselves and also to others, because other people learn from us when we take out, when we're bold enough to say, this is who I was, This is where I came from. This is what I learned. And this is what I would love to share with you. And for Soul Awakening with Sandra, this is what I do. For God is switching the codes. This is what she does. Ask the question. I know we love to answer them. Through Source will help you guide yourself to where you want to hear your truth for you. Led to live. Yes, guided.
Ashe. That was beautiful. I'm so grateful that you share that for sure. Definitely make sure that you all drink your waters, have your hydration up. And I thank you again for your time, your energy, this space, this sacred space, this safe space, this container, for your wisdom, your guidance, for everyone in the comments section, because y'all are very much a part of this conversation, not just she and I. And I have 100, I have so much gratitude. I was going to say 100, but it's more than 100, right? I have so much gratitude for all of you and your wisdom, and you allowing yourself to be guided into this space to listen and participate. Appreciation for all. I thank you. May you all have a healthy, wealthy, fortunate, fruitful day. And if you can't have a good day, I'm going to say like Tabitha Brown, because I like when she says, if you now go on and have a good day, and if you can't, don't go messing up somebody else's now. Right? And I love that she says that. So I'm going to leave y'all with that. And in the meantime, until next time, peace.
Peace. Yes. And love. All right.
And wholeness.
Yes. And I'm going to close out my space with a little prayer, if you guys don't mind. And Source, Bishonotoku am, Te Shishinate Eke Shonotoku, Neo Tushinate E Enokuhai, Hishinato Oi Tushishinai, Matu Umbakai, Mata Umbakai, Mata Umbakai. Ashe. Thank you for joining Soul Conversations with Sandra, the podcast, and we will see you on Friday. This was a special edition to close out January. So thank you, thank you, thank you. My gratitude to you. Ashe. Thank you, and you're welcome too. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Mr. Synchronicity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.